our friend. We talk to him every year. Friend of the show, I like to think. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk. He joins us now via a fancy Zoom down the line connection. I think, Mike, are you there?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Hi, Mike.
Excellent. Mike is here, and we're going to talk about it in a second. He has another novel, Big Shield. This is what is written, so just so you know, this is what was written. It's available on Amazon. The ebook is only 99 cents. It's a tale of gambling, the mob, and pro football, but for legal reasons is definitely not about the NFL. Is that a fair description, Mike?
That's accurate. And I found out the hard way that there's a glitch in the final product where I make reference to the NFL a couple of times. So I hope they don't sue me. I hope they don't send me a cease and desist letter. Although I thought one of the fascinating aspects of the Billy Joel documentary was when he was talking about his hit, Only the Good Die Young. The Catholic Church's opposition to it fueled sales, and he eventually wrote the diocese and said, will you please react this way to all of my songs? So part of me is hoping that the NFL will come after me.
Okay, we'll circle back to that in a bit. But first, I think you and Chris feel like you're among what feel to me like the many national voices who are looking at New England and say that's a team primed for a big rebound. Explain.
Well, I think that you've got the right coach. I think Mike Vrabel was always destined to coach the Patriots. I was surprised that they didn't make a beeline for him last year after he was fired by the Tennessee Titans, but then we came to learn of the agreement that they had in place to give the job to Gerard Mayo. But it just felt like a matter of time before he'd coached the team. He seems like the perfect coach for the team, the right blend of Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells, the right attitude, the right approach. It's the question of getting the right players. And that's the key. The cupboard has been relatively bare compared to the great years of the past, but I think they're on the right track. And look, with 7 teams per conference in the postseason and 17 games, it's easier than it's ever been to win enough games to get one of the playoff spots. And the Patriots definitely are a team that could win enough games this year to get to the postseason. And then next year, the goal would be to build on it. Not that they would surrender when they finally get to the playoffs. The question is, will the team be good enough to beat the best of the best in the AFC? But I think they can absolutely get to the playoffs this year.
Okay, and similarly, you feel Drake May is primed for that year 2 bump. And what are we basing that on, Mike?
Well, we saw enough from him last year that we liked, although that preseason game against the Vikings, it was putting a little too much air under the ball. And, you know, it may be an adjustment from last year to this year with the Josh McDaniel offense, and it may take some time. And there were some little things mechanically that Sims was concerned about with May, positioning of his feet, just the basic quarterback ways to be consistently successful with how you hold your body in position and how you use your skills. May was a little all over the place going into last year, but it worked. And it may be that it's going to take some time to adjust to an offense. It's a little more demanding, a little more overwhelming, but he'll be better off for it in the long run if it all clicks.
Mike, what do you think a reasonable expectation is for Stefon Diggs in New England?
I was concerned about that knee. Torn ACL suffered, I think it was November of last year. How healthy is he? And it seems like he's perfectly fine. It seems like he's fully recovered. How much does he still have by way of down the field, command extra attention, dominate a game? Where does he fit on a depth chart now at this stage of his career? How will he deal with not getting the ball as much as he'd want? We've seen some displays in the past with him and Josh Allen. He tweeted his way out of a couple of different teams. But I think that if he's willing to submit to what it means to be a Patriot and accept the fact that this is his opportunity, his last opportunity to try to be part of something that can achieve something great, then I think there's hope for it. But I don't think we're going to see the best we've ever seen of Stefon Diggs, but I don't think that's what the Patriots were looking for at this point. I think you just need a guy who becomes a reliable target for Drake May, catches a decent number of passes. You know, anything over 900 yards, I think, is a win. If he gets 1,000 yards, that's great. I just think there's a lot of moving parts there. And I don't have anything close to the expectations I had when he went to Buffalo. That's for sure.
So the reason I ask you that is because I would think that the team's success is going to have to be tied on some level to their passing game. And in one breath, I think a lot of people might think that they're going to be improved and they're going to be better. And yet I look at their passing game and where it is right now, and I say, I'm not sure they can block. And none of us are sure who's going to be able to catch the football with any regularity. And so at the end of the day, where is the optimism really coming from? Is it just because of Vrabel?
I think a lot of it is Vrabel, and that Vrabel is going to get the team ready to play week in and week out. He's going to make good decisions in games. He's going to know how to press guys' buttons to get the most out of them. He's going to coach this team into a better product than the various parts would suggest. And then you got TreVeyon Henderson, who I think they're already carving his Hall of Fame bust. So that'll help open up the passing game. If he ends up being the running back that maybe he's shown flashes he could be, that really can open up a passing game because it draws extra safety to the line of scrimmage. It gets you better matchups in the secondary, and you can work the play action game to perfection. So, I know running backs need blocking, but Barry Sanders didn't get much, and he did well. Not that I'm comparing TreVeyon Henderson to him, but there is a hope and an expectation that they may have gotten a potentially great running back. We'll find out soon enough.
It's Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, on his latest novel, Big Shield, available now on Amazon. Did you happen to hear Mike Vrabel last Thursday night, it would have been, be asked about Jalen Polk's impending surgery? Did he have anything to add on it? To which he responded, no, but I'd like to know where some of these things are coming from. We got to deal with the rats around here. Do you think that was just a one-off ball-busting comment from Mike Vrabel, or does it imply what's probably pretty common in a lot of NFL buildings with new coaches, that there's different factions there already and a sign of things to come there internally with the Patriots?
There are certain things that you can control as a coach, and there's certain things that you can't. And if you try to control the things you can't, you will drive yourself crazy. Now, I know under Belichick, they had everybody scared, not just the players, the staff, the coaching staff, and their agents. They had them all scared that they never said anything. Hell, you could barely get someone to acknowledge that someone had visited the Patriots or tried out with the Patriots, because the attitude was, if this gets out, we're going to assume it came from you and we're not going to sign you. And with Jalen Polk, like, the first suspect is going to be his agent. That's somebody that Mike Vrabel has no control over whatsoever. So this isn't a rat in the building. This is somebody who knows what's going on with Polk, and the agents trade information with the insiders as this loose quid pro quo, and the commodity that the agents have is information, and the insiders then use their platforms to do the agents a favor from time to time, make a contract look better than it really is. We see that all the time. We saw it with Terry McLaurin's contract yesterday. The insiders made it look better than it really was. So I think that's the source. And I just think if Vrabel believes he's going to have the kind of tight ship that has no one ever say anything that he wouldn't want to be released, he's going to go nuts, because it's going to happen.
Do you see some potential problems down the line with a personnel department that has a lot of holdovers from the previous regime, an offensive coordinator that may have been the owner's choice more than the head coach's choice? Not that the head coach doesn't like McDaniels, but whose hire was that really? Do you see some of these things coming down the pike?
I think the personnel side of it is a concern. I saw one of my colleagues posted that Drake may be the last draft pick standing from the 2024 class. Can't blame that on Belichick. He was gone. Now, I guess you could say he was the coach when they were doing all their prep in advance of the draft. So there is a way to blame it on him if you really want to. But yeah, and as Vrabel acquires influence and wins games, and we've seen coaches like that who just kind of naturally gravitate to having that bigger voice, and they tend to get what they want, and they deserve it when they've proven that they're winners. And I think that was the problem in Tennessee. The Titans screwed up that relationship, and they had too many different voices, and who's got the owner's ear, and Vrabel fell out of favor, and they did something stupid. They got rid of a guy who proved he can coach at a high level. I think the bottom line is there's a handful of coaches who have proven that they can, under any circumstance, coach a team at a high level, and Vrabel's one of them. And that's the thing the Patriots fans should be happiest about. But yeah, you ultimately need the players, and that's a work in progress.
Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk. What's the lead story around the league this year heading into the season?
Well, I'm concerned that it's going to be the Chiefs and Eagles all over again. And not that it's an anti-Chiefs and Eagles take, but I remember back in the 70s, Pete Rozelle hated the fact that it was the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Raiders, and the Dolphins that kind of ran the league. And 20 years later, they come up with real parity. Doesn't it feel like we're back in that same thing? Of course, the Patriots benefited from that for a long period of time. But right now, it's the Chiefs every year in the AFC. They've been to every Super Bowl except Super Bowl 56. Since they first started in 54, it's been every Super Bowl. Their worst case scenario is losing the AFC Championship in overtime. They've at least done that every year since 2018. I would like to see some other kids get a turn. Not that it's incumbent on the Chiefs or the Eagles to give someone a turn. I want to see someone take their turn. I want to see someone rise up, give them a good game. And I'm not rooting against the Chiefs. I'm not rooting against the Eagles. I'm rooting for something different. There's 32 teams. I don't want another Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl, but I feel like we're heading that way. That it's, it's optimistic. Everybody's 0-0, and who knows where it's going to go. But it still feels like they're the best two teams. Even though maybe the gap has been closed a little bit with the Chiefs, I'll believe it when they don't find a way to win far more of their games than they lose.
Yeah, I was going to say, can Josh Allen and or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow crack the, cross the threshold like that?
Or Aaron Rodgers. I'm kidding about that. Although there is a way to look at the Steelers. Sims and I were talking about this today. I think for Rodgers, his goal is to get to the playoffs. If he gets to the playoffs, that erases the 2 ugly years with the Jets, Jets. If he gets to the playoffs and he feels like he can walk off into the sunset with the right capper on his career, maybe he just cuts it loose and doesn't worry about interceptions. He's so obsessed with that touchdown to interception ratio. Take some chances, get the ball down the field, go for it like they did in 2010 when the Packers were the 6th seed. Nobody expected anything out of them. Next thing you know, they're in the Super Bowl and they beat the Steelers. That would be the best obvious outcome for him and for the Steelers. And if they get to the playoffs, maybe it will be a different Aaron Rodgers. But it's going to take a hell of a version of Aaron Rodgers to compete with Burrow and Lamar and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, those 4 quarterbacks are as good as any 4 quarterbacks we've ever seen, and they're all clustered together in the same conference.
Mike, also just league-wide, are there any owners that might have a little concern that they're making their product more difficult to consume, what with all the streaming services, and people over 50 can't just, click on the TV and watch a game these days?
But, we went through that with Amazon 3 years ago, and I had my father-in-law call me and say, what channel's the game on tonight? Oh, it's not on any channel, Dad. And so I think that they just expect us to adapt. They say that they were trying to stay current, but I think they're also trying to force things to go in a certain direction and trying to get people to adopt streaming. I think people are also realizing there's still a very firm place for linear TV, but I don't think they care. I don't think they're worried about it. They know that people are going to pay for their product. They know that they have the one thing that draws millions together in real time for a live event like nothing else. And I remember I was talking to somebody about this earlier today. I remember when Roger Goodell said his goal for NFL revenue was $25 billion by the year 2027, and it was laughable when he said it. Preposterous when he said it. I think they're going to make it. They're basically almost there.
Yeah, it's close. All right, Mike, tell us about the book.
Well, the book envisions a fictional football league, which is definitely not the NFL, but I've had concerns about legalized gambling as it relates to inside information. The rats. Yes. Dovetails perfectly with Vrabel's concern. There is so much inside information. Who's really injured? Who's not injured? What's the game plan for this week? I had a coach say to me a couple of years ago, these teams that script their first 15 plays, they put it on the whiteboard in the coach's meeting room. Who has access to that room? Does the person who empties the trash can walk in and take a picture of that? Because there's information there. There's so much inside information before games and during games. So the premise of Big Shield is there's a third-string quarterback on the Las Vegas franchise of a fictional pro football league, which isn't the NFL, and he cozies up to a gambler, a mobster, more accurately, the mobster cozies up to him, and he starts providing inside information before games and during games. He's got a system for tipping what the next play is going to be from the sideline, whether it's going to be a run or a pass. And this envisions a future where all the games are streaming. You can get the camera angle you want. The real-time betting is available, the micro betting that's becoming more and more popular. That's where it starts, and it all kind of goes from there. I mean, a story has to be about something. It starts with that, but then tension, friction, conflict, drama, romance, yada, yada, yada. and
Romance.
hopefully I stuck the landing.